Okay, this might be one of the most interesting crafting machines I've tested in a while because it isn't just a heat press. This is the XTool WonderPress, and what makes it different is that it's modular, meaning you can swap out different modules depending on what you want to create. Today, we are unboxing everything, testing the heat press module, the craft oven module, and the blister module that actually does the vacuum forming. And I do want this video to be completely transparent and honest because while there are definitely things I like, there are also a few things I personally wouldn't use in my everyday workflow. So let's open everything up, get everything unboxed, because it really was very much plug and play with the heat press alone. Everything else kind of took way longer than I would have wanted it to because a lot of it was dialing in my settings, and some things I simply was not able to dial in my settings after attempting project after project after project, and it got to the point where it kind of just felt wasteful, and I am not going to continue to test something just for the pure satisfaction of trying to get it to work, because quite frankly, I don't think it should take 25 times to try to make something work that should work on the first few tries. And before we get started, disclaimer, XTool did send me this WonderPress, but all thoughts and opinions are my own, as you will quickly find out. And I also want to let you know that they have since changed a couple of things on the WonderPress. I was giving a prototype. My thoughts, opinions, and frustrations with this one are based on the machine that I was sent. Now, XTool did tell me that they are sending me the final product once it's launched in the summer, and I will make a separate video once I test my own projects and see if the things that I found frustrating and difficult have been fixed on the new and final machine. Until then, I will point out some of the things that are different on this machine that we've been told have changed for the new one. I won't know until I see that new machine. And first things first, setup was honestly super simple. And as I mentioned previously, this WonderPress heat press by itself, the hot press platform, so not the other two modules, was really just plug and play, which I can appreciate, especially because sometimes craft equipment can feel overly complicated right out of the box. Right off the bat, this machine is very smart. It automatically recognizes which module you're using literally as soon as you connect it, which does make the whole experience feel beginner friendly. And visually, I really do think XTool did a really good job with the overall design. Everything really does feel modern and compact and pretty clean looking for a craft room setup, which is really nice, but I care more about the efficiency of the machine. Am I going to be able to, if I run a very busy business, how quickly can I turn over my projects and my orders? Alrighty, we got it out of the box. Now we're just gonna remove this foam. There's one more piece of foam. The plate is just removable, which is nice. I'm gonna remove this foam. Then I'm gonna put this plate back on here. Slide that baby back in. I am gonna rest my Teflon sheet here for now. And now I'll bring the two different boxes up. Get these unboxed. Open this up. And it looks like at the bottom, yep, it has that same square that you're going to be attaching to switch out each heating element onto the actual heat press. So we just unboxed the craft oven module. That's what this piece is called. Now we're going to unbox the 3D form module. We've got some accessories that I'm just putting to the side, and I can totally see that this is where like you'll be making your phone cases and such. And then inside the pockets of the foam, there's more accessories. So just don't throw out your foam unless you've like gone through it. This is a 3D form module, and they all come with this piece at the back, and I'm assuming you connect those prongs to the main one to use each of its parts. So I'll also be setting this down here. And then we have a bunch of manuals and accessories and startup guides. We've plugged it in and turned it. Well, actually, all I did was plug it into a power source. We're just gonna finish setting it up. English, temperature unit, let's go Fahrenheit. And then you, instead of, I thought it was touchscreen, you just push down. Heat press module, press to set parameters. Honestly, this was the most straightforward module for me to test. As soon as you power it on, you see that it reads that it's the heat press module, and here are your settings. This dial, to use it, you just turn the knob. You would just then push it to change any of your settings. Up to around 220 pounds of pressure. Pressure specifically, that's really nice to include in an auto heat press because we can use this for things that require different pressure like HTV, puff vinyl, DTF, transfers, and other types of sublimation projects. One of my favorite parts fact about this machine and what makes it very user-friendly, the heat press by itself, is that it comes with pre-populated settings for you. And I find that useful because I actually have other heat presses where I have two of them, and one of them is just for sublimation and the other is for DTF, because those require different temps and temperatures, with sublimation requiring a lot of heat, a lot of time, and DTF requiring not that much heat, but also like 10 to 15 seconds. So I have two separate machines so that I don't have to constantly go in and change the settings. And with this one, those pre-populated settings are definitely going to set this machine apart on the market. And the temperature will go from 176 degrees Fahrenheit all the way up to 410 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm gonna go ahead and press a t-shirt. So let's plug in those settings. I am going to be using DTF that I printed from the XTool apparel printer. And for that printer, the suggested temperature is anywhere from 280 degrees Fahrenheit to 320 for about 10 to 15 seconds. So I'm gonna go ahead and do 320. Where is it? Here, DTF, cotton, yes. And it actually has it already programmed, 320 degrees Fahrenheit. So let's move over to, yep, that's exactly where it needs to be. Let's move over, we're gonna dial it over to the time. And the suggested time is 10 to 15 seconds. I think I wanna do 15. Okay. And we're ready to go. Now we're just waiting for the WonderPress to reach the temperature. And as we can see, it's currently at about 155 degrees Fahrenheit, and we're gonna wait for it to reach 320 degrees Fahrenheit. And at the same time, if you want custom settings, you can still go in and adjust temperature, time, and pressure yourself, depending on what project you're working on. Something else I noticed about this heat press is the clearance. This heat press has up to 3 inches of clearance for thicker materials, which gives you a little bit of more flexibility compared to the presses that feel really cramped. To switch out the modules, it really is that easy. You would just pull out the one you're no longer using, and there's prongs here that you can meet with the bottom of the other modules. And as you can see, those prongs would then meet there. And there's also a green line on this plate, as you can see there, where it tells you kind of where to meet, as well as the sides that the blister module has to fit into. Moving on to the blister module, also the vacuum forming module. I was also the least successful with this one, as you'll see shortly. This one also has the prongs and these two to be able to meet the plate at the bottom. But once you get it lined up, it sits right in there. And if you try to pick this one up, it will not move. You have to unlatch it from the side. So I want to show you what that looks like. This right here, it has the XTool branding that you can barely see. But if you push that, it basically releases the latch so that you can lift it up. If you don't push that, this is not coming off. For the vacuum forming, they asked me to put this down here before I did any projects like the phone case. However, you will quickly find out that I was unsuccessful at doing that. And then this is supposed to sit right on top. And I think the color of this may have changed as well. So your heat press and the final heat press that's supposed to be going out to everybody should not have to do this. But again, I won't know until I have that machine in my hands. The reason for this piece I've learned is to not create a bulge down here. If you don't use this, then it creates a bulge. I don't think you will have to worry about that, since they said that they have removed this from the final product. All right, so it looks like we are ready to press. So I'm just gonna go ahead and pull this out and lay my shirt down. I am going to use a lint roller. We're gonna pre-press this to release any moisture as well. And I'm just gonna send it in. I don't think I have to press a button. Nope, it automatically goes down. That's really nice. I've already got my transfer ready. I've also folded it in half, so I know like where the middle is, so I can kind of eyeball it. All right, let's pull it out. I will place this here, just gonna sort of eyeball it, and I will be putting the Teflon sheet over this and pushing it back in. And it's just saying that it's currently going down and pressing the shirt. I'm going to remove the Teflon sheet, and I'm going to allow the transfer to now cool down before I take off the film. To speed up the process, I'm just shaking the t-shirt just to let some of that cool air travel through it, because you know what I don't have all day. All right, let's see. Beautiful, very easy peel. we are going to place the Teflon sheet over the design again and press it one last time. That was easy peasy. And we do have the press on auto mode, meaning when I push in the base, the device will start processing automatically. You can change that to manual mode where you push in the base and you press the start button to begin. But I like the auto mode. Go ahead and pull this out, remove my Teflon sheet, and it looks beautiful. I'm gonna bring it up to the camera so you can see. Push the module back in, not all the way because it'll automatically press and think something's there. But as you can see, it pressed beautifully. Okay. Boom. Now to press on cotton, the directions are 160 degrees Celsius, which translated to Fahrenheit is 320 degrees Fahrenheit for 10 seconds and 80 kilograms of pressure. If you're doing poly cotton, it calls for the same heat, so 320 degrees Fahrenheit, 15 seconds and 100 kilograms of pressure. We're doing the 320 for 10 seconds and 80 kilograms of pressure. First, I need to change my settings, and it's gonna probably take a minute for this to cool down. Okay, we'll let it reach the temperature. All right. It's now reached the temperature. It's lowering to press the tote bag. And I always do this to just release any wrinkles or moisture. This is a DTF film that we're using. Cutie. I'm going to go ahead and pull it out. Place this guy just right on top. I need to grab my Teflon sheet. Now this came with my WonderPress, so I'm just going to place it right above that and close it and let it press. All right, I'm gonna pull it back out, remove the Teflon sheet. I'm gonna allow the tote bag to cool down. I'm going to now remove the film, and we're gonna press it once more with the Teflon sheet on top. Remove the Teflon sheet, set that to the side, and it turned out beautifully. I always like to check the corners just to make sure it was actually pressed correctly, but yes, looks pretty good. It turned out so cute, okay? As you can see, I've tucked in the sweatshirt underneath. It has like a little opening and it's perfect so that the sleeves aren't hanging and your design or your sweatshirt doesn't end up moving once you slide it in. I actually love that feature. We just pressed it to release wrinkles and any moisture. Now I'm gonna lay my design down. By the way, the sweatshirt that I am pressing is a large. Just eyeballing to see if I can get it as much in the middle as I possibly can. I do have a t-shirt and sweatshirt ruler somewhere, but whatever. Put my Teflon sheet back on and push this all the way in. I'm gonna take this completely out, shake up the sweatshirt a bit, back on the press, exactly where I want it to go, and let's peel this. And we'll send it in once more. I'm actually just gonna tuck in this bottom piece and leave the sleeves out. It presses really well even on thick garments like a sweatshirt, and this is a large. XTool also sent some ceramic blanks to sublimate. We are going to tape these up, and I'm just going to use the products that they sent over and see how they perform using the heat press. These did not turn out well. The cork backing literally melted off. So I have these from the Make Market brand from Michaels. So we're going to try to sublimate these. I have successfully sublimated on these before, so I do know that they do work. So if this doesn't work, then I don't know what to say. So let's go ahead and tape these up. All right, I've already got my parchment paper that I used before. I'm just going to go ahead and use the same thing. So I will lower you so you can see what I'm doing here. And I've already got these taped up against me. Want the paper to be side up. I'm just going to lay them down here. I'm trying to make sure they're evenly placed on here. And then I'm going to take the Teflon sheet and just lay it right over and then push this in, let it press. And it looks like it's going to be pressing for, let's see, because I don't actually remember, 80 seconds. Okay, we'll be right back. I'm going to pull this out here so you can see what I'm doing, and it does look like it transferred, but I'm not going to get too excited because last time the other ones looked the same and they just did not transfer, and I don't really know what happened there, quite frankly. Oh, these transferred beautifully. So they're still hot. Oh, I could have done it again because there's a little bit of ghosting. I'm not sure if you can see that. It's just a tad. I'm actually just gonna let them go again. Let me get the Teflon sheet. I'm gonna let it press again. Another 80 seconds. So maybe they did press, but they could have used, I would say, at least another 20 seconds. So instead of 80 seconds, I would do them for a total of 100, maybe even 120. So I'm just going to repress them at 80 seconds and then I'll take them out. They are out for the second time. Go ahead and pull these out, see what they look like. Ugh, this one turned out awful because I decided to repress it, but that's okay. Now these, oh, they turned out so pretty. Oh, this is hot, very hot. I can actually feel it slightly through my glove, so I'll just set those down. I am gonna go ahead and turn my heat press off though, since I am no longer using it. And let's just rip these off. Oh, they turned out beautifully. Yeah, so I do recommend the normal heat press for sublimation. I think it does well. I think I should have just left it on for longer. That was my problem. And I ended up, it cost me messing one of these up, which it's gonna bother me that there's 3 and not 4, but it is what it is. I do want to show you what they look like, especially the same image I messed up, what it's supposed to look like. Let's see. It's beautiful. It's very vibrant. It turned out beautifully. Now I have to, these are from Michaels. They did come with like cork backing. So I'll add those once it's cooled down. But even this white one, it looks beautiful. Very much vibrant, no ghosting. So I think my problem was I should have just peeked at it, like lifted a little bit, not the whole thing, and looked at it, because look at it, you can even, I didn't even bother trying to line that up. So whatever, I'm gonna cool these down and show you what they actually look like. We just finished using the heat press module. So now we'll move on to the next module. Overall, I think the heat press module is probably the easiest module to immediately incorporate into your small business workflow. It's also my favorite. As you can see, I used it on so many projects. It performed really, really well. I actually do really love and recommend the heat press on its own. I think it's by far probably top of the line of automatic heat presses out there at an affordable price that's currently available or about to be currently available. Okay, next we have the craft oven module. And I was actually really curious about this one because I know a lot of crafters use an oven for sublimation projects, DTF curing, shrink paper, clay, and things like that. Now this is our oven space, and as you can see, the actual module is large to fit the heat press, but our actual space to be able to bake things in here is very limited. The oven also has a built-in filtration system, which is awesome, especially for small craft spaces. And I do have to say that I didn't really smell the sublimation fumes when I was curing and baking my mugs and tumblers in here like I do with my other heat presses. The built-in 3-layer purification system has a H13 HEPA filter that's going to be found back here to help trap the particles and odor that you're also able to change out yourself once it's time for a new one. Remove the heat press module to install that. So pull this out, remove this top base. And as you can see, what we're left with is just the bottom base so that we can input and place whatever module we're using next. Now that we have that on there, we are going to install the PET film mesh tray. You'll know exactly where it goes because there's little holes that it sits in. And finally, we are going to install the ceiling frame that goes right on top of that. And it literally sits right on top. All right, we're gonna push this in. We're gonna turn it on. And it has now sensed that it's the craft oven module that's there. For the heat settings, we are going to go ahead and change the temperature to 329, okay? And we are going to change the time to 120 seconds. Since my shrink paper requires something between 1 to 2 minutes, we'll just do 2 minutes. You also have the option for the exhaust time. Okay, we're just gonna wait for it to reach that temperature. We've reached our temperature. We are going to place our 2 pieces of shrink paper and see how well they shrink. Just going to place the ceiling frame right over it, and you should see whether or not you are lined up. It kind of sits in place perfectly. And now I'm going to insert the heat insulation pad right in the middle. This comes with the machine. And I'm going to place a piece of parchment paper right over that, because that is what it says to do with a shrink wrap. And now we're ready to turn it on and set our temperature and time settings. Let's power her on. And it tells us that we have the craft oven module installed. So now if you press the button, it gives you the option to either do the sublimation or the baking and curing. I want to do the baking and curing because we're doing the shrink film. So to set the temperature, you would just turn the knob to temperature. We already have it at 410. That is what their shrink film calls for. And it also calls for 120 seconds. So we're going to leave that and wait for it to reach that temperature. While that heats up, this is what I'm going to cut. Now I did print on the frosted side. That's what side you need to print on. There's a glossy side. You don't want to print on that. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this so I can get it ready. I'm going to turn them into keychains. So I'm going to add a hole punch here on the right corner. So right there, as you can see, it's a little heart. So now they both have a little hole punch in the shape of a heart. Now we're going to open this up since we're ready to bake. The frosted side goes face up. The glossy side should be face down, and we'll let it bake. Now that it's finished, we're going to immediately remove them so that we can flatten them out as best as we can. It's a great idea to have some tweezers nearby just so you can pick them up. And I literally just take the palm of my hand and press down, but you could totally put a stack of books here right on top of them just so that they can flatten out. But I think the palm of my hand did a pretty good enough job, but obviously I'm wearing a heat protectant glove and they do cool down pretty quickly. And as you can see, a tiny little heart that we hole punched, but they turned out really well. I also shrunk some smaller items. So let me show you what the real size of this looked like to give you some perspective on this little coffee. This is the size that I printed out and that's what it shrunk to. Now the heart and the doggy, they were much, much bigger than this size. I actually blew it up. I would say it took up a whole page just for these two. It was like half the page was the size of him and the other half of the page I used to size the heart, just so you have a little bit of a reference. But I actually really love it. Actually did a really good job in shrinking these two. We are going to move on to the next project, however, still using the craft oven module, but I did want to show you something. These turned out great. These were made using the XTool paper that they sent me. So I don't know if they manufacture their own shrink plastic paper sheets, but theirs worked well. These turned out well. Okay. So these, as you can see, they're flat. They turned out really well. They almost kind of look like acrylic. However, when I used 3 different brands types of shrink paper, my own shrink paper, they did not work well with this oven. I have not tested to see if maybe raising the temperature would help, but there was definitely not enough temperature because this did not shrink all the way down. It should have shrunk to this size. Now it did shrink from its original size, but it did not shrink down to this size. These were different brands. I think this one's a Silhouette brand, Tech Wrap brand, and a random brand from Amazon, and it just didn't do well. And I'll just show you, this one didn't finish shrinking as well. And I did it again. I closed the oven and I tried shrinking it again, running it again a second time, and it did not shrink. So as you can see, if you're going to use a shrink paper, either dial in your settings. I have not done so. I may do a separate video on that, or you're going to have to find out what paper it is that they're using because their paper did work with their machine. Just wanted to be transparent about that. Moving on, I'm going to now be sublimating tumblers using the oven module. Now I've already printed my design, as you can see through here. I'm not sure if you can see it through the paper. I've already taped it up. I just need to add the shrink wrap sheet that we're going to stick this tumbler in to kind of insulate it to really get that full wrap effect. And I'm going to do the same thing to these mugs as well. Add the sublimation design and then wrap them as well. I've applied the shrink wrap to the mug. I probably should have cut the slit so it wrapped better around the handle. I've got 2 mugs and I've got the 1 tumbler. According to the XTool guide for the WonderPress and doing sublimation with tumblers and mugs, it is recommended to do this at 210 degrees Celsius, which ends up equaling 410 degrees Fahrenheit for 900 seconds, which equals to 15 minutes on one side, and then 600 seconds, 10 minutes on the other, which seems a bit excessive to me, but we'll see how it does. And I'll just show you what actually happens. I'm not taking anything out of the video. If it doesn't perform well, you're going to see that as well. I'm going to push the button, select baking sublimation, because that's what we're doing. And we are going to set our temperature to 410 degrees. Okay, and it seems like that's the max temperature that it'll reach. Okay, and then for our time 900 seconds. So let's set our time to 900. There we go. Push that and just go back to the home base, and it's at 120-ish something degrees Fahrenheit, so it's going to be a while for it to reach that temperature. We've reached temperature. Now we're going to go ahead and put our mugs in here, and our little handy dandy heat insulation pad was already in there. And I'm just going to lay these down and pray for the best, because I really don't know what's about to happen here. So we are baking for a total of 25 minutes just for 2 mugs. Okay, now it's time to flip the mugs over to the other side. Okay, so let's go ahead and pull this open. And I'm just going to come in here and literally flip them over. And now we need to change the temperature settings. Oops. So if you close it, it automatically begins to lower it because I have it on automatic. So temperature settings stay the same. However, our time settings need to change. Oh, nope, temperature settings are fine. Our time needs to change to 600. Perfect. And now we're good. Now we can close this. And now it's going to bake it for 10 minutes. We're all done with the mugs. It just came up. I just missed recording that, but that's okay. We're gonna take them out. I'm gonna set them here to the side on my cooling mat for them to cool down a little bit before I unwrap them. And I am going to go ahead and grab the tumbler that I have, and I'm going to place it in here. I need to raise it to the time back to, 900 seconds. So let's do that really quick. There we are. So like that, go back, let that bake. And once it's finished, I will change the time only to 600, and then we will unwrap that and see what it turned out like. I'm not gonna lie, I am a little impatient and I would love to see what this looks like. So I'm actually gonna begin and cut into it and get these unwrapped. All right, now I'm just gonna remove the tape. Why do we have to do so much tape? This really does help seal the cup and prevent ghosting from happening. Okay, I'm gonna untape this and come back. I'm a little scared because it feels like it did not bake as evenly as I thought it would, but this is this left side. So this is what the paper looks like first off. Did transfer. However, the side that got baked at 600 did not bake that well. So, and I'm gonna keep this stuff in here in the video. It's interesting because I do feel like even baking it at 10 minutes is still a lot. That's the first one. This is the other mug. Again, did not bake that well near the handle. We'll see how the tumbler does. All right, I'm gonna grab my tumbler, open it up and see what happens. All right, moment of truth. I'm a little scared, I'm not gonna lie. So far, so good on this side. Oh wow, I'm impressed. Okay. I didn't think we were gonna get a successful transfer just because we didn't get a successful transfer with the mugs, but I almost lined it up perfectly in the back. So I almost had a seamless line there. Other than that, I think it looks great. Let me know what you think. The colors transferred on really well. So I do think that sublimation tumblers will do well. I don't know about the mugs. I will have to try it again. I just would hate to keep wasting blanks trying them, but very impressed with the tumbler. Did a really good job. All right, I am going to wrap these other 2 mugs that I have here. These are actually different sizes, so I need to see if my design's even going to fit on here. Since the first 2 did not sublimate well, I am going to try to dial in the settings for this press, honestly. So let me try this design on this small one, see if it fits. Yeah, it fits. Okay. So we're going to tape this down and then add our sleeve or that added insulation. And this time I'll cut a slit here where the handle is just to make sure that it hugs it really well. Heat resistant tape, because it's a pain to try to remove all of these. And we're going to do the same thing to the top in this sleeve that we are going to use a heat gun to have it shrink and tighten, help us achieve that seamless, no ghosting ending. So I kind of made this one, and now we're going to work on this mug. So what I did was I took the sleeve, I only have this size, and I stuck my mug in here, kind of in the middle, And then what I did was just took some scissors and cut a slit up at the top. And I think I'm gonna try to make this one smaller and see where we go. And I think I'm gonna go in with some more tape here. Just adding tape where I see white space on the mug. I don't know that this is going to make a difference, honestly. All right, we're gonna go place these in the oven and try again. Try to perfect getting the shrink on there. And honestly, it should not matter if the press is reaching the temperature. Since I tried the recommended settings of 900 and then 600, I'm gonna do 900, 900 on each side and see how that does for me. All right, we've reached temperature, so I'm gonna go ahead and place the mugs in here. My insulation pad is already down at the bottom, so we'll begin to do these one side first and then the other. All right, our press is finished. So now we're gonna take these mugs out. Didn't do a great job here. And that was 900 on each side. And again, it did not do a good job near the handle, and that was 900 on each side. I don't know how much more time I could leave it in there. I'm gonna unwrap this one now. And this showed up much better this time. However, still ghosting near the handle. So I'm going to try to just decrease the length in the design and see if that works. It did much better, but still a little bit of ghosting. This was 900 on one side, 600 on the other, as I suggested, and that did not perform well on this mug. However, when I did 900 and 900, it performed a lot better. You can see the design, it actually transferred, but it's still ghosting near the handle. So I'm going to decrease the width of the design so it's not so close to the handle. See how that performs. This one on the left is the first one I did. And as you can see, it performed the same, literally exactly the same. Maybe a little bit better near the handle, but still not great. I'm actually gonna go ahead and try to open these mugs because I think they've cooled down where I can grab it by the handle, but I did want to show you. There's a little bit of ghosting there, but this is the best result I've gotten with a full wrap so far. This is what that looks like. There's a little bit of ghosting on the butterfly, honestly, like right here, and I'm not sure if you can tell. And then the bust, there's a little bit of ghosting on the bust, but so far this has been, again, the best result. I'm going to have to shorten it some more to peek at what it turned out like. I did turn the machine off. I think this has cooled down enough. It's still a little warm. Let me show you. All right, so this is what it looks like. And you can see my seam, which I could have done a better job of lining. But pretty well, the black transferred pretty well. Here's where I got ghosting on this one. And I think that was a me thing. I think I could have added more tape at the top, but it did pretty well. And again, I just used the 900 seconds, the 15 minutes, and then the 600 seconds, the 10 minutes. And I think it did pretty well for the most part. So I do recommend it for the tumblers. We are going to try the mugs again, but I need to go print my design out again and shorten the length first. Okay, you guys, I'm trying this. I can't even say third time's a charm. I'm not sure if you can see all those mugs that I've tried just to get a perfect wrap. Mind you, yes, I should not be pressing mugs or trying to bake mugs in an oven that are fully wrapped, like handle to handle. Those should be done in a mug press. But anyway, I've applied tape underneath. You can't see it. It has tape all on the inside. And then I did the shrink part, right? The film that shrinks to tighten it. I did that to both mugs. I did shorten the length of the design to 9. We were at 9.4, I think, so I brought it down all the way to 9. But I don't really think the design should start here on a mug. Like, I feel like it defeats the purpose. So, and in this oven in particular, but I just want to be as transparent and as honest with you guys. So I'm gonna start how I always start, with the handle to the left. And we are just going to send this. So I think I may just commit to another 15 minutes. So 30 minutes, you guys, for 2 mugs. You be the judge on whether or not you want to do that with this press. All right, the timer just went off. They've been in there for a total of 30 minutes, 15 on one side, 15 on the other. It's crooked, but that's my fault. We got it, you guys. Can't believe I'm saying that, but I'm so glad we accomplished it because I was not going to make any more mugs. Honestly, I've made way too many. I have to find teachers to donate these to. We finally have no ghosting. And I would say it's still close to the handle. I know I could have done just a regular schmegular decal, but I think the point is to show you what you can and cannot do. And after so much testing, I finally got a full wrap, vibrant colors, no ghosting. And I would say, I mean, you be the judge. You be the judge. Do you think they are still close to the handles? Because I still think the design's close to the handle. I just don't think there's any point in a design starting like mid-mug. I feel like that would, if it started here, like what's the point? You know, anyway, we can move on to something else now, finally. We are going to go ahead and bake DTF film, which I guess is curing. So I'm gonna select that option. So we are at 410 degrees Fahrenheit, which that's what it calls for. The time is 180 seconds. So we do need to change this dial. Oh, what am I doing? 180. And now we'll just wait for it to reach our setting and then we'll stick our film in there. And I'm gonna go ahead and I actually forgot, but I'm just gonna go ahead and do it really quickly with you guys, is I actually forgot to change this. Not change, I should say, but add. But since we are still heating up, I'm just gonna go ahead and do it right here. Okay. And then this is supposed to go right over that. And we are supposed to stick our film right on top of this. Let me show you the film that we're curing in here. Now I'm still using the craft oven module that we just used for those mugs. This is a film. I went ahead and applied powder. Yeah, you can see the powder here as well. See it a little better. It's a little gloomy in here today. All right, we've reached our temperature. Put it right in the middle. Close it shut and see what happens. Let's take a look at our film now that it's finished. Wow, that's impressive. It really did cure the film. You can tell right away because it looks glossy all throughout the film. Let me turn the light on just so you can, but I'm pretty sure you can tell even though the lighting here is not great. That's much better. It definitely cured this. Wow, I'm actually impressed with how well it did. Now that you've seen me use the craft oven module, for my workload personally, as busy as I am with the amount of orders that I get, I don't really see myself using the oven as much for sublimation, mugs, or tumblers because the full process takes about 25 minutes minimum to bake. As someone who runs a business and batches projects and constantly has a working assembly line going, I do not have that kind of time to wait for 2 mugs to bake at a time or for 1 tumbler to bake at a time. That's just a little too time consuming for the current way that I work. Now, with that being said, here's what I do really like about the oven and what I would recommend it for. I actually do think it has a lot of value for DTF film curing. You saw how easy it was to cure that DTF film. I was highly impressed, more so because right now, if you were to look for a DTF to cure your DTF film, that's gonna cost you minimum upwards of $1,000. And if you were to get this module with this press, you're getting it for about $600 if you were to get all of the modules. That's if you're going to be using all of the modules. Less than that if you're just getting the heat press by itself with the hot press platform and the oven, you're probably going to be paying less than $600. I also really liked the shrink paper project that we did. However, I did not try to dial in my settings with my own shrink paper. My own shrink paper that I provided, and I used 3 different brands, did not work, but I didn't bother dialing in my settings because honestly, I had a headache with trying to dial in the settings for the mugs, and with the phone cases that I was left with 0 juice to continue to dial in the shrink paper. But I'm pretty sure that that is something you could do if you took the time, just because if it worked really well with the paper that they provided, there's something that you could dial in, whether it was the temperature or more time, to dial in those shrink paper settings. Something I didn't bake, but that you could bake is also clay, or this is also great for makers who don't already own dedicated sublimation equipment. I think this craft oven module is really going to depend on what type of crafter you are and what products you make most often or are wanting to make and bring to your business. That's what I have for you using the craft oven module in this video. Now let's move on to the module I was most excited for, the Blister module, also known as a vacuum forming module. The Blister module, or the 3D4 module, actually uses vacuum suction technology, which lets you wrap designs around curved surfaces instead of only flat surfaces. The maximum object height for vacuum forming is about 3.5 inches. Now to do that, right under here, it's not hot. I'm gonna pull it out, grab it and put it to the side. And I'm going to install the Blister module, and it looks like this. It's got the handles. So we are going to just go ahead and, all right, just like that, and begin to set this up to place our phones in here and see how it does with the phones. Now I have used a different press for the phone, so I'm interested to see. I do know what they're supposed to look like. We'll see if that happens. Remove all of this and just leave this white plate at the bottom. And now the next step is to place this piece, the metal support piece, in the middle, I suppose, like that. And now it wants us to place this right on top of that, like so. Okay. All right, the next step is, look, it wants us to preheat the oven with the jig, which makes sense because this is metal. And then I have our blank phone case. So I'm gonna go ahead, and it fits right into the pocket perfectly. So I'm gonna turn this on, and it already sends the 3D form module immediately at the top. So it wants us to preheat with the jig for 12 minutes before I start the project. I'm only doing one side at a time, which happens to be the right side. So it wants me to insert the silicone plug into the hole here. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that while it's not too hot. I also, while it's still preheating, went ahead and took this frame off. I initially had it on here like that, but while this is preheating, it needs to be off. Once we place our printed film on top, then this goes on top. And I'll show you how to do that, but for now we don't need it on there. So I'm gonna go ahead and take it off. And I think this is for the vacuum forming of making like 3D objects. And I don't wanna do this. So I need to go all the way over here where it says vacuum, push, and then change to sublimation. I'm not doing vacuum forming, I'm doing vacuum sublimation, which is different. And now I am gonna make sure that my temperature settings are correct, and they are not. So it calls for the phone cases, it calls for 200 degrees Celsius, which equals 392 degrees Fahrenheit. So let's go ahead and change that, okay? And for the time, it calls 720 seconds, which is an equivalent of 12 minutes, by the way. That's a very long time. The suction, it wants us to change it to medium. It looks like we're good to go now. We've officially preheated for 12 minutes. It took forever, I feel like. I'm gonna remove that metal jig so I can place my phone case on top. And I made a mistake when I printed. I'll show you that first. This is the mess up print, if you will. You can see I printed over it because the first time I printed, I got it wrong. And this is the good file. So I'm going to do this one first, and then we'll do it again with a different phone case. So I just kind of want to do the mess up file first and see how that turns out. Let's grab our phone case, pull this guy out, and we should be able to just place it right on top, just like so. The directions say to now put your sublimated piece on top of this. I'm actually gonna turn it around there. And then it says to put this frame right on top of that to hold it down. It should fit in there pretty snug. Go ahead and push it in. And I believe it needs another 12 minutes to actually vacuum form to the phone case and sublimate on it. And it does bake first for 60 seconds, and then it does the vacuum sublimation. And it kind of makes a little bit of noise, and apparently that's normal. The noise does reduce as it gets closer to being finished. And now it's counting down the 12 minutes. Got about 5 seconds left. All right, let's pull it out. I had a feeling this wasn't gonna work. Oh, it kind of worked. Okay. So this happened, but it did not wrap all the way around. You need to make sure that this is placed on there correctly, like that it locks in just as such. And we'll see how it does. All right, let's see. It does not look like it worked. Bummer. And then push it in. Looks like it actually suctions this time. Let me show you. I'm not sure if you can see that, but it looks like it actually suctioned this time, so let's pull it out so it doesn't look like it's suctioned all the way like I wanted it to. All right, so this is the frame that goes on top. Setting this down here. And then this is our phone case. So it did suction, it's just, it is not suctioning very well. Even this, like you can see that, I'm not sure if you can tell, but it's not, and it looks beautiful over the top, but there's just ghosting here, especially, let me see if I can focus the camera. There's ghosting there, there's ghosting on this side, and it didn't wrap, and it had the room to definitely get the design all the way around. So it's not because the design's not large enough or big enough. It's just not pressing correctly for me, and there's ghosting around the camera. I'm gonna try it again. However, I think I'm gonna try it on this side and see if, I don't know if switching sides might work, but I'm willing to try everything here to try to get the most perfect print. Unfortunately, I'm not having success. So let me take the button off, switch that, and it is actually already hot. So I'm just gonna go ahead and place my phone case right there and the film. Phone case down, I'm gonna put my film down again, and we'll try again. No, and we gotta make sure that it's actually sitting there. I've got my settings on the vacuum on high just because low is not working out for me, so we'll see how that does. So it does really well at the top, but the sides are just not happening. All right, this is my last attempt. Let's go ahead and push this in, see what happens. And I want to show you that it does a decent job of vacuuming, but it just does not wrap my phone all the way like it says it's supposed to. Just took the frame off. And you're immediately supposed to remove the film, but the film is just not suctioning all the way down. And it does a beautiful job of, you know, it's vibrant, it's colorful, but look at the ghosting around the camera. That right there. And then the edges are just not sublimating all the way. So I don't know that I recommend this module for this press just because I've attempted this a numerous amount of times. I mean, this was this attempt, okay? And it's not like, oh, well, maybe it just doesn't wrap up. No, look at the print. It goes past the edge. It should be vacuuming. It's just not vacuuming properly. Now, again, this is a prototype, but still, I just want to be completely honest and transparent. You know, what's the reasoning here? Look at that inch of print, and it's still not wrapping all the way around. So I can't recommend this module. It's not working for me properly. Now, this is supposed to be the prototype. So if I get to test the actual press that is going to be, you know, sold to everybody else, then I'm happy to test it. And if it's different, come and tell you. But this is how many times I've tried it. That's 2 cases. Same thing, 3 phone cases. 4 phone cases. 5 phone cases. 6, 7, 8, 9. I've tried this 9 times and have been unsuccessful at getting it just one, at least decent full wrap, you know? I've gotten close, but I just can't say that I've gotten a great wrap using this module. And I wanted to show you even the black one. It's beautiful. The colors are vibrant, but again, near the camera, it's just not suctioning enough. And so although it looks beautiful, I could just do this, you know, and be like, guys, it did a wonderful, perfect job, and just do it far away and never show you the edges. But I think that defeats the purpose of me testing and reviewing this product. And I just don't want to be dishonest. And I will never tell you that something works that's not working properly. And I can only speak from my experience. And this is my experience with the phone module on this press. So you let me know what you think. I do feel like with the vacuum forming, this is where crafters can start creating products that normally would require manufacturing equipment. I just did not like the vacuum forming for the phone cases. I did, however, liked the vacuum forming for random objects that I actually picked up from Hobby Lobby. We were given samples to try to vacuum form, but I went out and got my own just to test that height possibility. And that I really do like, because I do feel like you can create your own molds, and I was able to achieve that successfully. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I was actually most excited excited for the Blister module because I saw a ton of potential with the vacuum forming and sublimation application. But after testing sublimation phone cases numerous amount of times, I personally was not fully happy with the final results, so therefore I cannot recommend something that did not work for me. And I do want to mention that this is not my first time making sublimation phone cases or working with sublimation or sublimation phone case systems. I actually do have another machine that does that and accomplishes a sublimation phone case beautifully. So I actually already had a good idea of what kind of finish and wrap quality I was expecting. So if you had hopes of getting this module specifically for phone cases, I wouldn't recommend it at all. However, if your intention for this Blister module was for creating molds, that's a different story. We have to set this up correctly. So initially, let me go back to where I was. So this is where I was, and I'm like, why aren't my settings? So you have to click on the, it's already on the I have to push the button to vacuum forming. And now I can set my temperature settings. So I think I have 0.5 millimeter TPU. It calls for this to be at 266. The suction being at high, we have to peel this side and flip it over and peel this side so that you're left with the clear film. Film in here. Okay, here's the frame. Tighten the frame. I'm gonna let that start warming up. So I got this heart wooden piece at Hobby Lobby. I'm gonna try this one and see how it does inside here. So I'm gonna go ahead and actually pull the tray back out and just stick it right underneath here and hope that it works. I'll let that warm up and reach its temperature and we'll be right back. So I accidentally forgot to press record before I pushed this down on both sides. So I do apologize. It's really loud and obnoxious of a noise, but it looks like it suctioned that piece of wood really well. I didn't know if it would because it's really thick, but again, I got this little heart from Hobby Lobby and so far so good. We're gonna pull it out and see how it performed. Directions are to pull it out, let it cool down for about 10 seconds. So we'll do that. All right, and after 10 seconds, the next step is to remove the frame. You gotta lift these two sides up, remove the frame, and it actually removed the entire thing. I'm not sure if you guys can see this, but it's suctioned in there really well, actually. It's pretty flushed in there. So I'm gonna set this down. Well, I'm just gonna push it out. This is the film that was once flat. It is now in the shape of a tray. That is pretty cool. And there's our bear. I'm going to try it with the wooden pieces that they gave us and see how it performs. So I'll put these down first. Another piece of the film, remember to peel both sides off. It looks like a milky white, but when you remove the film off of both sides like that, it ends up being clear. Add our film here, lay it down, and it fits on there. Let me raise you so I can show you. So I wanted to show you that this film actually sits on here in this frame really well. Not snug and tight, but it does fit perfectly there. And then we'll put our frame back on, and then we'll lower the handles and then send this back in and wait for our press to reach our desired temperature. All right, our press has reached the desired temperature. Now I'm gonna go ahead and try it one last time. And this really is my one last time because that's my last piece of film that they sent. So I messed up a couple of ones because I had the wrong settings. Let me put my gloves on and we will push those handles down, hold for 10 seconds, and then let it bake. Here we go. All right, now we pull it out and let it cool down for 10 seconds. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and lift the handles up so I can pull the frame out. And this is what we turned out like. It's like a tray and you can see the objects in there and it is pretty flush to the back. So I'm pretty impressed with this. I need to remove this, and this one's a little bit complicated to remove. This is where we were pressing the phone just now. I removed the top pieces and all of that. Now I'm going to show you how to take it off. So there's a lever on this left side, at right there, this opening, you're going to have to push it in. You can't tell from this angle, but if you just push it in a little bit, you can see it kind of goes in. That's the lever to release the lock. So in order to remove this one, I think this is the only module that actually locks. We need to push that in. That's what I'm going to do to remove it. Just push it in and at the same time lift up and it comes right off. With the phone cases, you saw how many attempts I tried at it, and it's not my sublimation printer because I'm able to do it on a separate machine just fine. And again, this is based on the prototype that I have. I cannot recommend something that I was not able to do that I know how to do, especially when I've attempted it numerous times. Where I think this module really does shine is vacuum forming molds. So if your intention was to use it for the vacuum forming molds, I actually do recommend it for that. I actually do think that the module really shines when it comes to creating vacuum forming molds. I'd also love to add that out of all of the modules, the Blister module is going to be the hefty and heaviest one of them all.
I also wanted to show you this sweatshirt that we made earlier, along with all of the t-shirts we made and the tote bag and everything we pressed using the regular WonderPress with the hot press platform.
I did want to show you kind of like a last video of everything I made. So these are all the phone cases I worked on. I think there's 9 in here. And as you can see, the pattern was not the problem. The pattern was definitely the right size. Something's wrong with mine. Now I do have a prototype, so they say, so I won't be able to really know until they send me that very last one. But these were some of the initial phone cases I tried where it just wouldn't work. This one even broke after so much suction. I thought maybe changing the suction from medium to high would help, but to be honest, it didn't. And when I did get a good finish like this, it still wasn't good around the camera lenses nor the edges. So that's the phone cases. These are the first set of coasters that I made. You can't even see. These are the ones that they provided. The backing that they sent with these literally disintegrated because of the heat. And so then I made these from the Make Market brand from Michaels, and these actually did work really, really well. I actually like these all, even the black one. This is the one that I messed up, so I didn't want to show you that because we both saw why I messed this one up. But they turned out really vibrant, and this was done with the regular heat press. These were all done with the regular heat press. 3D vacuum forming was done with these, and it did a really good job. I did want to show you, kind of give you that 3D view of the fact that you could totally pour candle wax or something in here. It did really well. Whatever you would want to make molds for, you could totally do that. I did want to show you the big part that I got from Hobby Lobby. I wanted to test the height. It actually suctioned this a little too well, so I'm just going to take like my vinyl pickers to try to like get it from the corner. You see that thickness? It's almost an inch thick, and you can see view of it, and you could also use this to, I don't know, make candles. Honestly, guys, I don't know what I would use this for. I just kind of wanted to test the height clearance on it. To wrap things up, I don't think every module will fit every crafter, business owner, maker's workflow, and that's okay. For me personally, the strongest feature is the heat press by itself to press things like t-shirts, tote bags, sweatshirts, as you saw me do, posters. It does well with sublimation and that type of pressure. It did well with the pressure for DTF film on a t-shirt, on a tote bag, on a sweatshirt. And from there, one of the other stronger features from a different module was the vacuum forming potential for mold making and creative applications. The oven module, as we discussed, had some uses I liked, especially for DTF film curing if you're wanting to get into DTF, but DTF curing oven is not currently in your budget. This is a lot more affordable, but I am not going to be using the oven to sublimate my mugs or tumblers because I don't have that time. Overall and genuinely, I think that's the most important part when investing in equipment, figuring out what actually fits your business and crafting style, as well as what's going to be the most beneficial for you to bring into your workflow that's going to make your life easier, not harder. And if you'd like me to test more projects using this machine more than the ones that you saw, or if you'd like a specific tutorial on something using the XTool WonderPress, definitely let me know down below in the comments because I feel like there's still a lot that can be experimented with. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and hit the little bell so you're notified every time I upload a new video or tutorial. I post crafting DIY tutorials, laser projects, sublimation, DTF, 3D printing, embroidery, and all things maker related. I truly hope you found this video helpful. And if you'd like to show your support for my channel or myself in any way, feel free to use my affiliate link to purchase your own WonderPress if you haven't done so already. I'll leave that link in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.